To start our lecture on mood. Okay, so mood is really exciting. You may have heard about it for movies, photography, film. It's basically it's one of your most powerful tools as an artist. It's how to affect the emotions of whoever is looking at your work. Okay, so our very powerful tools as artists is we can affect other people's emotions. So these are going to be the main moods that we go over in this class. So these aren't all of them, but these are the main moods that I use in my art. These are the main moods I've seen other artists use. And these are the moods that kind of have formulas to be able to illustrate them. Okay. So we did all that Project 2 stuff, learning how to do focal point, use leading lines, use the rule of thirds. But now we're going to use all that stuff, but we're going to try and put a mood on top of our artwork. All right, so let's just start with calm here. Let's go with calm, the calm mood. Okay? Maybe calm, maybe peaceful, maybe relaxing, anything along those lines. All right, so each one of these moods has a bit of a formula. Okay, so I'm going to give you the formula for how to create this mood, and then it's your job to work creatively within these formulas. Okay, so we want to make these moods super clear to the viewer and make it really obvious of what mood we're trying to convey. We don't ever want someone to kind of be questioning when we look at our artwork. All right, so the first thing you will want to create a calm mood, you want a large area of negative space. Remember, negative space is empty space, so make sure you go back and watch that lecture on negative space to really make sure you understand it. You want large negative space, okay? You want a small focal point. You want horizontal lines and shapes, and more rounded shapes. Round. Okay. Obviously you won't, you don't need every single shape rounded, but kind of as a general rule of thumb of what we will be looking for here. Okay. So the project 3, I'll go over like the specifics in a later video in a week or so. But it's basically going to be creating art that conveys a mood. So let's try to create a calm composition. Something that feels calm, something that feels peaceful, something that feels relaxing. So start with your focal point. I'm going to draw a person type of shape here. And these all these rules work for abstract or representational. Okay? So we got our person, they're pretty much a horizontal shape. So now I'm just going to start kind of filling this in with rounded lines and rounded shapes. So I oftentimes like to get inspiration for these different moods about when do I feel these moods, okay? Now I feel relaxed when I'm laying at the beach. So think about a beach. There's a big empty sky. There's horizontal lines for the horizon where you can look off and see off into the distance. So think about when do you feel these moods in your own life, and how can you incorporate that into your compositions. All right, so this would be considered a calming composition. We got a big, look at this empty space up here. I can put a few shapes up here. We'll put a little sun, some rounded and horizontal clouds, but for the most part I want to keep this space as empty. Okay, so look at that big area of empty space up there. We got a lot of horizontal lines, horizontal shapes going on. There we go. So this could be a composition where you want to create that calm mood. Okay. So you can remember, so for this type of drawing, it's not what you're drawing, but how you are drawing it. How you're drawing it. So I'm drawing this beach. I could draw a beach in a way that feels like more like action. If I drew exploding waves and big craggy rocks, it wouldn't feel calm necessarily. But this way, it feels more calm. So I can draw a city too. And if I want a city, which is typically more of a place with busyness and movement and excitement, I can draw a city in a way that feels calm as well. Okay, so I'm just filling up with some buildings. Notice these aren't all rounded shapes, but that's okay. There's a little rounded shape. So I'm just going to leave this section here as empty space. I can put some rounded clouds again in there. But whenever you have felt that calm mood, think about that and how that relates to your art. I would say the most important thing is that large negative space. Okay, I could put a little focal point here. We got a little character with the cape blowing. Got a Batman type guy up here. Put a round shape around the Batman. Some horizontal clouds again. So this is a pretty, Batman is an action-based character. Cities are usually busy and loud. But this is a way to draw this city that is calmer. Okay, so focus on that large negative space for calm, and these other three should follow. But this is kind of the approach you will take, and we'll look at some examples of calm as well. All right, so now let's do action right here, our second one. Okay, action. So action, movement, speed, anything along those lines. You can use these different compositional techniques. So the biggest one for this is diagonals. You want diagonal shapes, diagonal focal point. Basically, you want to avoid straight up and down. You want diagonals is going to be your main one. Okay, so let's look at this. Oh, you want a smaller negative space? All right. Okay, so usually when I start this, again, diagonals is going to be the most important one for speed. So rather than starting with a line right here, I'm going to draw a car going down a road here. Pretty simple. So if I want to start drawing my road and my car, oh, and you want more angular shapes. Angular shapes. That's the one I couldn't think of. Okay. So there's a car going down a road. Well, this is okay, but there's not a lot of movement there. So let's change the way we draw this. So I usually like to start with, when I start an action-based composition, start with a strong diagonal. Boom. So that's already going to set me up for success here. So now I can draw the car. And I can design this car to be kind of angular. So this should hopefully be a really fun project for you guys. And some of you guys may notice, I saw in some of your thumbnails and previous drawings you guys have done, some people have already got moods in their drawing. Okay, so that's good. So now it's just kind of being able to recognize those moods and being able to create them with purpose. Alright, so we got this guy here. Let's put some exhaust smoke. I'm going to kind of use an angular shape for that exhaust smoke. Alright, now I want to put some buildings here in the background. So I'm not going to draw these buildings straight up and down. They're going to follow the diagonal as well. So there we go. Now these are on a diagonal. We could put some, marks in the road here as diagonal. Put some speed lines in here. Okay. If I wanted to start designing these buildings, I can put kind of some angular shapes here on the buildings. Even these windows can be kind of angular. Put a shadow under the car there. I want my focal point to stand out, so we still got to think about these. All the stuff we've been learning, value contrast, rule of thirds, symmetrical composition, leading lines, all that sort of stuff. We'll still be looking for that, but we're putting mood on top of it. So some of you guys, you may naturally lean towards one type of mood or the other. So some artists are really good at drawing action. Some artists are really good at drawing like horror. Some artists are really good at drawing friendly style. So you may, notice some moods come easier for you. Some are more difficult, but it's good to try as many different moods as you can because you want to be versatile as an artist. You don't want to be pigeonholed into one mood or one style. But having said that, there are artists that can make an entire career off of drawing horror style or drawing action style or whatever it may be. Okay, so now we got a good sense of movement here. Okay, got a lot of diagonals going on. Diagonal here, here. All of these are diagonal. Nothing is straight up and down. And that will kind of help us to get a more action-based concept, action feel to this composition. There is a little negative space up here. The sky up here is a little bit of negative space, but not much. It's a pretty busy composition with a lot going on here. All right, so those are kind of the two main ones for right now. Should we look at some examples? So what I've seen in projects in the past before where people are trying to do a speed mood or something like that, they'll just draw like a person here running. Yeah, some bushes over here, bushes, maybe there's other people standing back there. We put a little sun in the sky, whatever. Okay, so they say, okay, oh look, this is about action and movement because it's a drawing of a person running. Well, again, it's not what you're drawing, but how you're drawing it, okay? So yes, this person is running, this person is on a diagonal, which is good, but we would want to make this even stronger. So we really want to make these moods obvious to people. So that can be an okay start there, but I would then tilt the ground. I then put these bushes and maybe draw them with some more angular shapes. And if these people are on a diagonal too, that can work there. Then I can add in some speed lines, motion lines right there. And it went from kind of having some movement to now having a lot more movement in there. Okay, and you can even draw something completely still and have it have a sense of movement in there. Okay, so let's just do a little thing like this. All right, so we've drawn houses a lot for our examples here. Okay, so this nice house. Houses are still. Houses do not move, but I can still draw this still thing. Remember, it's not what you draw, it's how you draw it, to have a sense of movement here. Start off with a big diagonal, and then really exaggerate the angles of this house. When I put some trees or bushes, I'm going to do some angular looking or feeling trees. This pathway is another chance for some diagonals, and I'm just going to put in some more speed lines. This is a great place to put my focal point here. A guy, you know, jumping. So as you can see, I've put something that's normally still and normally stable, putting it on those diagonals. Now it has a sense of movement, a sense of speed. All right, we'll look at just a couple examples here really quick. So these are some column examples from other artists. This one is very nice. Look at this large area of negative space right here. There, water became the negative space. Lots of times it's the sky that's the negative space, but sometimes you have to get creative with it and put that negative space someplace else. All right. Here's another one. This whole sky, this all becomes negative space. They have a little bit more going on here, a little bit more busyness. But the sky is empty. We have small focal points here and horizontal, 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 smooth curves for that composition. Here's another one. Really nice piece. Look at all this empty space up here. Empty spaces, it's going to take you guys a long time to figure out how to use negative space, but it really adds a sense of sophistication to your work. So this project is a good time to practice that use of negative space. Here's another one. Overall feeling of calm, horizontal, smooth curve, and then negative space here and negative space here. Okay? So, you know, landscapes lend themselves really well to calm compositions. That's a really easy way to do it. So you can think about working on that for your thumbnails as you're trying to come up with a calm composition. For action, here are some other examples. This is a Spider-Man cover by the artist Humberto Ramos. Look at this image, packed with action, packed with movement. Starting off with the focal point, Spider-Man is a big diagonal. And look at this whole background. It's on a tilt. This is called a Dutch tilt, where you physically, if you're taking a picture, you tilt the camera. If you're drawing this, then you just draw everything on an angle. And now everything is diagonal. There's not a single, I don't think there's a single line in here that goes straight up, vertical, or horizontal. Everything is off angle. And that works for this character. Obviously, Spider-Man is an action-based character with a lot of movement. Here's another one. This is the artist Pascal Campion, a French artist. So this is a pretty, you know, everyday scene. It's a person crossing the road. But look at that road is on a big old diagonal. Focal points on a diagonal. And it's not like an extreme action scene here. It's just a person kind of quickly crossing the road. But just this bit of these diagonals here really sell that sense of movement as you look at this piece. Here's another one. So look at this first panel here. Everything's diagonal. Versus this one down here, everything is more vertical and horizontal. So this panel has the feeling of action in there. This first one up here. Another one, big diagonal dark shapes here in the foreground. This whole guy's and his horse is on a diagonal. The whole land here is on a diagonal. Very, very busy, very complicated. There's like no negative space in here, which works for this image, okay? If you're trying to make a calm image and have it be this busy and lack of negative space, then that wouldn't be the best. All right, here's a photograph on a diagonal. So this is physically a Dutch tilt where they tilt the camera sideways. Some more diagonals. This is from Into the Spider-Verse. Really good movie if anyone's seen it. Okay. All right, so that's it to start for calm and action, okay? So write down these notes, sketch along some of these examples. to make sure you understand these different concepts, because this is what I will be looking for on Project 3.